Hello and welcome to another vlog. It's been a while since the last vlog. In fact, it seems like ages ago.
It's been fucking months.
This video is going to be mostly cobbled together footage of me making this piece of what Professor Dungeon Master of Dungeon Craft calls his ultimate dungeon terrain. And this will feature in later videos where I'll be talking about different ways of doing gridless tabletop gaming. So let's get started, shall we? So I got myself some of this off-white insulation foam, which came covered with this silver foil kind of stuff which needed peeling off. I'm 90% sure this is entirely the wrong sort of stuff to be using, but it's all I could get hold of. Now, I discovered one side of the foam was marked with these grooves, but fortunately they were roughly 4 inches apart, which allowed me to disguise them later on in the process by making that side the gridded side. The grooves also provided a convenient guide for cutting off the bit of foam I was going to use. After the manner of Bard's craft, I used a kitchen knife to cut the foam. Cutting the foam is fucking noisy. To get the circular shape, I drew around the lid of my kitchen bin. At this point, I realised how easily a pencil tore up the surface of the foam. This would become a problem later. Talking of problems, cutting out the circle. Oh yes, that was a problem. At first, I tried using my old Citadel polystyrene cutter. This was a long, slow, painful process which released a lot of toxic smoke and didn't really work that well. So I went back to using the knife, which was noisy. And made a mess. But eventually I did end up with a roughly round piece of foam. I then used the kitchen knife to give the edges a nice craggy cliff-like look to them. This technique was of course borrowed from Runehammer. Next, I used a set square, a ruler, a biro and some guesswork to start adding the squares to one side. This took some considerable time. I also tried burning/melting the foam using a metal spike heated over a candle. This did not go well. Borrowing another technique from Runehammer, I pushed the pointy bits of some dice into the gaps between tiles to make them look a bit more weathered and uneven. Further weathering was done using my fingernails. Then I decided to make a start on the other side, which we divided into 3 distinct areas. An outer ring of rock, a large circular area of flagstones, and an inner circle of, different flagstones. To create the outer circle, I used a dinner plate. I placed it roughly equidistant from the edges and drew around it. I then tried to use measuring and maths to figure out where the centre of the circle was. This did not go well, and all I really ended up doing was tearing a bunch of straight lines across the foam, none of which went through the centre. So in the end, I just used guesswork. And for the inner circle, I drew around a plastic kid's ball. To help me mark out the circular flagstones in the middle, I used a 50mm base and a 25mm base. At this stage, I started using a biro to cut the lines thicker and deeper into the foam. Then, again using the biro, I began cutting the flagstones, starting in the middle and working my way outwards. This was a long and arduous process. I then turned my attention back to the gridded side. Taking the HeroQuest board as my inspiration, I decided I wanted to add some cracked floor tiles. In an attempt to keep the cracked tiles random but also evenly distributed, I divided the grid into 4x4 sections. Then I marked 2 or 3 tiles in each section in which I would carve the cracks.
And now, a sudden improvement in audio quality.
Next, I made a ball of aluminium foil, and I used it to texture this side. And the edge. And the other side. For a little bit of variation here and there, I also used the biro to add some texture to individual flagstones. Another way I did a little bit of variation was to press some of the flagstones down with a modelling tool. I also used the biro to sort of neaten up the flagstones where needed and round off the corners. And then it was time to begin painting. I began by mixing black paint, water and builder's PVA to create an undercoat which would seal the foam. It took quite a while to get the consistency right. And then it was time to start slathering the paint on. then, with the undercoat dry and all the annoying little spots covered, it was time to start adding the colours. I wanted to paint the piece to match the way I do stonework on my other dungeon pieces, using Chardon Granite, Storm Vermin Fur, and Codex Grey. However, this is a fairly large piece of terrain, so I didn't want to use up lots of expensive paint on it. So I grabbed the various cheaper acrylic paints I had and began mixing up some close approximations of the colours I needed. And I think I managed pretty close matches. And then came the dry brushing. Lots of dry brushing. So much dry brushing. Many, many dry brushings. Finally, I used some washes to grunge up the stonework a bit and add some colour variation, and various other things I didn't bother filming, before giving the whole thing a good coat of Mod polish to protect it from the rigours of gaming. And here it is, the finished piece. I'm quite pleased with how this came out in the end. If you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and if you're subscribed to my channel, like this video. I need a goodbye catchphrase.
And now...